Why Not? A queer podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 72. Ooh.
It sure is.
So many episodes in the can.
That's where I've been for the last 15 minutes. Sorry, we got a late start.
Did you reach high score?
I can't get in and out of the bathroom in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I downloaded a game. I'm addicted to it.
We've had this talk. I think every grown-up who has a phone has their go-to game that is like their pastime and, you know, when they're in the bathroom kind of thing. And what game is it that you play?
Well, I've re-downloaded it. I had downloaded it and played it so much before that I had to quit. I have a rule. When I get to level 5,000 on any game, I delete it because I'm like, that's too much of my life that I've spent doing this. I must delete it. And then I'll play other games, right? Well, I was playing Crazy 8, which is a game that I like to play. And then I saw an ad for the game that I used to play, and I went, oh, that does look cool. I used to love to play it. So I downloaded it again, and now it's all I do. And once I was hanging out with Dylan over the weekend, he was like, are you mad at me? And I was like, no, why? And he's like, because you haven't looked up from your phone. And I'm like, oh, I just keep playing this game, which is probably why I was in the bathroom for 15 minutes longer than I needed to be because I was playing the game. Yeah. It's a Toon Blast.
Oh, I think I've seen commercials for it. My game of choice was one you introduced me to, Uno. And I had to slow down how much I was playing it because I was screaming at my phone. First, and I don't mind putting them on blast, Hasbro can kiss my ass because that is such a fixed game. They build you up just to tear you down. I think it's to prepare you for life.
I think that you would have liked this then, because isn't that what the military does?
I left the military and I'm about to leave Uno.
It's the opposite. It tears you down to build you up, and this builds you up to tear you down. Got it. It's different.
But it's so rigged, and I know everybody's going to be like, oh, you can't play Uno, so you just think it's rigged.
You just don't know how to play.
There are subreddit groups dedicated to people who play this game who do nothing but compare notes about how the computer rips them off for coins to entice you to buy coins and keep playing. Have you ever bought coins? No. The only purchase I have done with Uno is I paid the 99 cents so that I don't have to look at their stupid commercials. Because I'll be damned if Hasbro is going to get me to download another one of their stupid computer games. So I got rid of the commercials, but you still get the 400 pop-ups. And when I have a really bad round, I will go back to Google Play Store and I will update my review. I will update my 1-star review. And I'll be like, week 429, you still have too many damn pop-ups. And they will always reply. They'll be like, we apologize that there's too many pop-ups, but we don't want you to miss out on all the great things that are coming. I'm like, no, just turn your stupid pop-ups off.
Yeah, just consider me missed out.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't want to play Monopoly.
I had to stop playing that game. Yeah, I don't either. Although the ads are really cool.
Yeah, it looks fun.
It looks like...
That's why I had to buy the Uno, so they stopped. They almost talked me into it.
I mean, this is the thing that annoys me, and I think the government should get involved. So listen up. I know you're listening, Mr. Biden, President. End this. If you have a commercial on a game for another game, if I download that game, it damn well better be the commercial that I watched.
Oh, yeah.
And it's never that. It's like, oh, that looks really cool. Yeah, because it would be if it was a real game, but it's not. So guess what you get? Stupid Bejeweled. You're not saving anyone's life.
There's this one that's advertised.
The king's not about to get burned and you got to get the water in there.
That one,
yeah. It's not real.
The one, there's one on Facebook where this little knight goes and he like gets points and then he like fights goblins and stuff. It's not that at all. I downloaded it. It's like a Sims, but for medieval times. And I don't care for it. I just want to be the little guy who runs and fights dragons and stuff.
I thought I was saving a single mother and her child from freezing in a room. I didn't know that I was playing Bejeweled so some guy could redecorate a mansion.
Yeah.
Come on.
I played that one too. It's her uncle left her the house. I got real deep into that one.
I appreciate the level of commitment that you have to these games, but I will never read a subreddit on anything, especially a game I'm playing.
I just wanted to know that I wasn't crazy because I'm like, there is no way. Because, I mean, I don't know if you play Uno in real life, but in a standard deck, you've got, 4 draw 4 cards, I think is what it is per deck.
But you'll have like 9 played in a game.
But they'll tell you
Against
it's
you.
like, oh, it's a double deck game. Literally, the other 3 people will have 4 draws and just pile on in the same round. And I was like, no, don't tell me it's 2 standard decks when you're giving the computers all these extra cards.
So you play single player mode.
Yeah, and there's easily more than that.
So you play single player mode.
Yeah, I tried teams and
See,
I can't.
I had to stop playing Uno because I always play in teams, and it's so infuriating because one of the features, and we may have talked about this on the podcast,
you can
is
throw
that you can throw eggs
pillows
at people.
and stuff.
And I'm like, and so I played a card, and my teammate threw an egg at me,
Yeah.
and I started screaming at the phone. I mean, obscenities that I won't yell here, but I'm like, who the are you to tell me? So then, when I go and I'm like about to win the game, and I just unload eggs on them and then play the winning card and be like, that's what I was trying to do, you moron.
Yeah.
Or if they keep throwing eggs at me, I'll throw the game. Look, I'm not attached to those coins. It's not Bitcoin. It's not real money.
Yeah.
I will throw that game and I will egg you every time I play a card that you hate. So obviously, I had to stop playing because I was like,
That's
it was
smart.
like
That sounds
global
like a smart move.
thermonuclear war. I was like, I hate you. So
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any good game recommendations out there, throw them this way because I'm about to give up on Uno.
I have to give up on Crazy 8 too.
Yeah.
Because I play now on Crazy 8, there's no team mode. The good thing about Crazy 8 is that they'll have an ad pop up for like 5 seconds. It's not crazy ads, and there's 0 options to pay for anything. It's just playing the game. And so it's cool. But you have this thing where you can play like double cards. Like, if you've got like 2 7s in different colors, you can play both 7s at the same time. And you're like, oh, this is fun. And I noticed that the other players weren't doing that. And I think they're all just computer hands. So you're not playing against people. But all of a sudden now they can. And they're getting like they're playing 3 cards at a time. And then like you'll get like somebody will play 2 draw 2s and then 2 draw 2s and then 2 draw 2s and you don't have any. And obviously you have all these cards. I'm starting to get angry about that. I'm like, when did they start getting all the cool stuff? So anyway, very important stuff.
You know what else is important?
Health.
Our sponsor.
Our sponsor is very important. I noticed that we were like last time, I think we were like 15 minutes in before we started saying anything. So this time 7. But let's thank our sponsor.
Yes. I'll
start.
You go.
I'll start and then you can go.
You go, then I'll go.
I'll read the words in black and you read the words in red.
Sounds good.
Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning. Let's start that again. Sorry, guys. Jeremy made me laugh. Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando and in Lakeland now.
It's soon to be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're in Lakeland now. Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing, and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
All
right. That was a tough one to get through.
That was a tough one. We should really pre-record this. I don't know where that... you
have a lot more pages than I do. How is that?
I know. I must have... I think I have last week's in it. Yeah, How the Grinch Killed Christmas.
Oh, that's...
City Beautiful. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know where it went. All right. Did I print the wrong thing?
I hope this is one listener's first episode, and hear you just rambling on, and you're like, oh, this is the Grinch, this is that. And they're like, what is he talking about? Go back and listen to last week's episode. It'll all make sense.
You know what's so weird is I only have... No, this is all last week's paperwork.
Wow.
I don't have any of this week's. But that's okay.
All right. Well, I'll run through the script. Both. Hey, Jeremy, how was your week? It was great. How was yours, Rick?
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about our weeks. Now we're going to talk about we had very busy work weeks, right?
Very busy, but in compared from episode to episode, very short weeks because we recorded Wednesday of last week, late last week.
Yes.
And we're recording our normal Monday time today. So how was your week has been shortened by 2 days. On top of that shortened week was filled mostly with events that we covered that we're going to talk about in a few moments. So outside of that, my week was pretty uneventful.
Will you do me a favor? Pardon me while I do a little. Will you go look on my desk and see if the stack of papers is there? Because I have some interesting things to say. I'll tell you a couple of things. My week was really, really packed full of the work things that we're gonna get into later. But I will say this: on my way to Gay Day at Disney on Saturday, I thought it'll be really fun. Where was it?
Still a stack of papers. It was right on top of your binder.
Yay.
Yeah.
Look, I got it. Got my paperwork.
Yay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd. Oh, just kidding. We already did that.
Move along. We passed that.
Okay, cool.
We're on page
2.
two.
So we're on our way to Gay Day at Disney, and I'm in the car with Jen and Dylan. And I was like, oh, let's listen to last week's episode. And so we put on an episode. Now, I forget what I say sometimes from week to week.
Yeah, these things are a fever dream while you're recording.
Yeah, right? So you're just talking. So anyway, so somebody's going to one day say, I can't believe you said this. You should be canceled. And we're going to be like, I said what?
What?
So anyway, we were talking about Ozempic.
You know what Shaggy says? It wasn't me.
Oh, my God. So does...
Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh, it wasn't me.
I was like, zoinks? What does he say? That's what Scooby says. Doesn't he say zoinks?
Jinkies.
Jinky.
Oh, that's Velma says
Velma's
jinkies.
Yeah, he says zoinks. So we were talking about you being on Ozempic.
Yeah.
And then I kept asking questions about, I was trying to find somebody because I have somebody who I think should be on it that would benefit from it, but is not LGBTQ, is not HIV positive and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there driving on them. We're having this conversation on the podcast, and it's playing. In the back seat, Jen goes, "Thanks for looking out for me." And I was like, "Oh, that's right." And then
She broke your code.
so then we started talking about you had gone to see Michael Carbonaro.
Yes.
And I was talking about how before I met my husband, in my mind, I was going to marry Michael Carbonaro. And then I said, don't tell my husband. And you said something about the podcast. And I went, oh, he doesn't listen to this. He'll never hear this. And he looks over at me from the passenger seat, and we just start dying laughing. It was funny. So be careful what you say on here, because eventually somebody, like you said, it's always when you're talking about somebody, that's the episode
they'll listen to. Yeah. The truth never stays buried for long.
So that was fun. We did that. I started on, you know what? This is a great weekend to do this too. I started Weight Watchers.
Oh, fun.
You know, I hope it is. It's my intention that it'll be fun. I just felt like I wasn't making any changes in my life on my own, so I needed some kind of accountability.
Yeah.
And Jen said she signed up for it and had this coupon thing where it would only be like $11 a month for 6 months or a year, something like that. So I was like, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, good. I hope it works out. I don't want you to be the fat one on the podcast.
You guys are laughing like you've talked about this behind my back.
No, because last week you apologized for saying you don't want to be the fat one on the podcast.
So I want to tell you, while we were listening, because it's the same podcast, right, that we were listening to on the way to Gay Day.
Oh, yes.
And when it got to that part, it got to this part where Jeremy said he was on Ozempic, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to start working out because I don't want to be the fat one on the podcast. And I realized it as I was saying it, what it sounded like. And so I immediately said, I don't want to be the only fat one on the podcast. But no one ever hears that corrected part. They only hear the first part because
they're too busy gasping at that first half.
They both gay gasped and looked at me with like this look like, I can't believe you said that. And I was like, well, that's why I corrected it. I can't believe it either. I know, it was rude.
I forgive you.
Thank you.
No, I mean, since we're talking about it, we're week 3 on the Ozempic.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good. I am not. It's funny because I'm still on the quarter dose, and I'm less hungry now than I was last week. Like last week, I was like, is this even working? Because I'm kind of hungry. This week, like it'll get to be 7, 9 at night, and I was like, shit, I haven't eaten today. I need to eat something.
Oh wow.
I just don't think about food the way I used to. So once it goes up to the full dose, I imagine that I am going to just be like, food. I got to eat again.
I don't know. I go out to eat regularly with somebody that's on Ozempic.
Yeah.
And they eat while they're there. And they'll like get a dessert and like just chomp down this dessert like, Ozempic doesn't let me get fat.
I don't think it works that way.
But then they also say, that if they eat too much,
Yeah.
they'll just throw up. Like they throw up all the time.
I do notice that if I eat more than like an average portion, or if I eat later at night, I do find myself getting intense heartburn. Like I'll have to pop some Tums or something. It's like it's unbearable heartburn, which petrifies me because growing up, my mother used to tell me the story of how my great-grandmother, she always had a little hanky with her and would always hold it to her chest when she got heartburn, and she'd say agita, which I guess is heartburn in Italian. And turns out there were little mini heart attacks she was having, and she died. So,
well, how old was she when she died?
She was 44, the same age I am. No, I'm just kidding. I don't remember. I mean, she was an old lady. I imagine she was in her 70s, 80s. I don't know. She was old. It was just back in the 80s.
I feel like
maybe the 70s. I don't remember.
Dylan and I have been together for 6 years, and I am 49, so I must have been 43 when we first met. His father died of a heart attack when he was 44. Not when Dylan was, because Dylan's not 44 yet.
When his dad was 44.
His dad was 44. So when I turned 44, that was a long year for us, because it was basically like say we were in the if I was in the living room and he was in the bedroom and I dropped like the remote, he would come running out of there and be like,
I'd say I'm worried.
Are you okay?
But I am only 44 for one more week, so be careful this week, Jay.
Well, welcome to the last episode of Wine.
Oh
my
won't
God!
Keep going
I'm gonna
if
tell
I
you.
die?
I will tell you what.
You're just gonna retire
Well,
the show?
we'll call it something else. I don't feel like I could force somebody else to drink this much wine if you died of a heart attack. I feel like
you should call it. Have Caitlin slide over, and you can call it "Dead Not Dead," and then the whole podcast can be you two talking to me.
We'll get a psychic.
Ooh.
And they'll communicate with you.
I have no one in my life who is willing to do this with me, but I have been tempted to Ouija board a couple of people.
That sounds like something other than what you mean it to sound like.
There's a couple of people I'd like to chat with. However, everybody in my life either is petrified of Ouija boards or thinks that they're evil and will let the devil in.
I will tell you this: there's no way that it works. Parker Brothers did not create the portal to the other side. There's zero chance that it works. That's why. I mean, I would do it, but you would never get me to believe that it was real.
I tell you what, if this was one of those kind of horror movies, this is the point where you just established yourself
as the first one to go,
as the one who's gonna go. You're like, that's all malarkey. Now we cut to a darkened parking garage, and you're walking to your car, and you hear a noise. You're like, who's there? And then you walk faster. Something's behind you.
Yeah, and I've hit that point in my life, I think, where I can no longer be the plucky comic relief. You know, so I get it. If it's a horror movie, I'm dying.
I'm gonna be that weird guy who runs the gas station at the beginning that tells the kids to watch where they go.
So you're the murderer.
No, he's never the murderer. He just warns them ahead of time.
Oh yeah.
He just knows the murderer.
Oh. So, we'll keep updates. You know, I'm sure people will really care about our weight loss journeys.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it.
I know a couple of people care about mine. Me as number one.
I enjoy, I think I'm going to enjoy this Weight Watchers things because there are things that I enjoy eating that are 0 points. So it might be like a game of let me see.
Like what?
Oh. What
is ass 0 points?
Well, then it depends on what they had to eat.
Oh no!
So
I stepped in it. Mothers pushed into it.
I will always cross that line. You lead me there, I will jump that line. Our mothers listen to this.
Yeah.
No, cottage cheese is 0 points. I enjoy that.
Gross.
All fruits and vegetables, all fish, all chicken, except chicken thighs. So chicken breast.
That's my favorite part of the chicken.
Mine too. Well, the skin, really. I once dated a guy who tried to convince Jen and I, because we were on the South Beach diet at one point. Yeah, we're up and down. We got the Oprah thing going. And he serious face looked at us and said, "The skin is the healthiest part of the chicken."
Oh.
Yeah. You know the crispy thing that soaks up all the oil and grease when you fry it?
Think that's true.
That you put butter and seasoning all over? Yeah, it's the healthiest part. We're not together anymore. He died of a heart attack. I'm just kidding.
No.
He did not.
I was going to say, I bet he's on cholesterol pills.
I did one thing that we said we might do, but then I watched the first episode of, I think it's called Fallen Idols.
Oh yeah,
The Nick Carter and Aaron Carter story. I watched that because we had talked about maybe covering it. And I found something very interesting about it. They completely neglect, even though they talk about his life, Aaron Carter's life, for like the last year of his life in pretty detail. They never talk about him coming out as bisexual.
Interesting.
You know, his whole story in here is about like the towards the end of his life, and with him and his fiance and their kid, and basically kind of claiming that Nick Carter was somehow in cahoots with YouTube influencers to bully Aaron Carter into dying.
Interesting.
And he died, so mission accomplished. No. Alleged mission accomplished. It was a very interesting sort of documentary. Sometimes you watch documentaries and they're about something, right?
Yeah.
And this was, I don't know what this one was about. It was like you've got these a group of women who are accusing Nick Carter of sexual assault, and they'll tell their stories, and then like a screen will come up with words on it that'll say Nick Carter's lawyers provided us with documentation to disprove these claims, and you can read those here. And then it would go on to the next story. And so
what's the point in doing the documentary if you're like, oh, here's this person, what they say, oh, but they have proof that that's not what happened? Yeah. Why would you even bring that up?
And then I guess the point of it was saying like it was I didn't write down the way it was worded. So it seemed like they were saying, yeah, or somebody will say they were sexually assaulted in front of other people, and they will tell the story, and like these people saw him do this to me, and then it would, after the story, it would say so and so has signed an affidavit claiming that no rape or sexual assault happened. And so they'll say like, hey, this person saw it, and then that person says this never happened.
Oh, I got
so it was just it was very odd to me. So who knows? But I guess, and also sometimes I think that people make documentaries too soon, because there was somebody who came out to sue Nick Carter when they changed the laws that there was no longer a statute of limitation on sexual assaults in California. So they were like, okay, well, I'm going to sue you. So they're suing him, but then he's countersuing them, saying that the first person that made the claim groomed everybody else into making these claims, and that he's suing them for like $2 million or $2 billion, something like that. So those cases are still active. So it's like, well, why don't you wait until the cases are done?
I know, right?
Or maybe they'll come out with another one. Anyway,
cash
I'm gonna
grabs,
get that one.
that's what it is. Because that's on Max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Max are on we're on a no speaking terms right now because I don't like the way they've butchered my past favorite streaming service. And since Discovery and HBO Max merged, they've completely butchered that streaming service. So I'll say...
So no House of Dragons for you?
Well, that's HBO. I will watch HBO, but I will not watch Max Originals or anything on Discovery.
Okay.
They're stupid. However, I will say what we're going to talk about today was originally from one of the Discovery channels.
Yeah.
Just, Max, know you're on notice.
Both the last two documentaries I've watched on Max were from the ID channel, right?
Yeah.
All right. That's really all I have to talk about my week, other than the weeks. So we haven't. Well, you know, all the work we did. So there are times in our lives, in our watermark lives, where it is nothing but watermark work.
Yeah.
And this is Caitlin's first Gay Days with us, and she's like, I know, that's right. That's all I did. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's, you know, for those who don't know, Gay Days is the couple of days surrounding the first Saturday of June. Because the first Saturday of June is Gay Day at Disney.
Yes, Gay Day, Disney's Gay Day at the Magic Kingdom, which was started in 1991.
We say Disney's, but we don't want to it's Disney didn't start it. Disney doesn't do anything. They've actually gotten to the point now where
Gay
they
Day at
sort of,
Disney's Magic Kingdom.
There you go.
Yeah.
They do. I I mean, they do sell a lot of like gay pride merch now.
Yeah. Yeah, they put out a Pride collection every year for the last 4 or 5 years.
And can I have 30 seconds to just say the thing I say every year?
Sure.
Listen, you want to promote this stuff? Buy an ad in local LGBT media. We'll buy your stuff. It means nothing. Like the amount of change in their purse that they would have to spend to buy ads in local LGBTQ media to advertise their LGBTQ products, it would be life-changing for those news sources, and it would be no money at all for them. But they don't do that. They rely on our free editorial to push these products, and I don't like that very much. But you know what I do like? All of their gay merchandise.
Yeah.
So I dropped like $200 there buying their stuff because it's adorbs.
Yeah, and I think part of it is in advertising. I think that they feel like they're, I don't know, endorsing Gay Day, and they're trying very hard to walk that line where they get all the gay dollar and they don't have to look like they're putting on anything.
They want all the money, none of the pride.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one day they will.
Someday.
But you know what? It's not just them.
No, everybody does it.
It's your rainbow corn chips. It's your rainbow cookies with the cream filling in the middle of them. I don't want to call you all out. Oreos. Sorry, was that Doritos? All like, come on, guys. You could buy ads. It's like here's our products. Buy them from us so we make money, but we're not willing to spend any money to better your community. I mean, that's just how I see it. Is all I'm saying.
Well said.
Anyway, what were we talking about? That's just,
Gay Day at
the Bears
Disney's
of Comedy.
Magic Kingdom.
Same thing.
So every year we attend all the events and take all the photos and enjoy all of the pride.
Yes. Now, we do see, when you learn something, you tend to call it that forever. Like, here's an example. The Metropolitan Business Association has changed their name to the Pride Chamber. But people who have been around and worked with the Metropolitan Business Association for decades sometimes still call it the MBA. It's just, what they do. And sure, we can learn new things and move on. But so for those of us that have been around for a long time, we call that weekend GayDayS, because it surrounds Gay Day at Disney. And so all the other days around it are called GayDayS. But there are other organizations involved. So there's an actual company called GayDayS.
Yes.
That copyright, that took that name, put it in a copyright form. They have a host hotel, and they have pool parties and shows and things that happen confined to that hotel. Yes. There are also other groups that come around. So there's One Magical Weekend, and they have a hotel and pool parties, and they do private parties at Disney parks and places around town. And then there's Girls in Wonderland. So all three of these organizations do events that we just kind of termed as GayDayS, but it means all of them when we say it.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody has their host hotels, and One Magical Weekend focuses more on the circuit party aspect of it. Girls in Wonderland focuses on the girls. Or those who identify as female.
It is very well appropriately named.
And there used to be, there still is Tidal Wave. They moved to Vegas. They focused on the Bears, and they left 2 years ago. And the guys over at One Magic Weekend partnered up with Central Florida Bears organization and started Bear Jamboree.
Now, when you say the Central Florida Bears, is that the Pizza Bears or is that the Spaghetti Dinner Bears? Do you remember that big fight?
I don't.
Were you not part of that?
I don't think I was.
There was a clash between two bear organizations, and they were trashing each other on the socials because one was like, "Oh, you served spaghetti dinner. How lame for your big fundraiser." And they were like, "You had pizza. At least we made our food." It was all really kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Do you know that fight cost Watermark thousands of dollars?
Because you delivered the pizza and the spaghetti?
Oh, no, because somebody who was writing the articles took a screenshot of two bear cubs fighting in a river.
Oh, yeah.
And used it as the image for the story online. And like years later, the artist was like doing an image search and saw that their image was attached to ours and was like, "You owe me $60,000. We negotiated it down.
Yeah. Ah, wow. So you've got the Bear Jamboree. They've got their host hotel. They do
That
the
sounds
bear
like a good time, doesn't it? I think if you put the word jamboree in anything, you're going to be like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Or is it just me? I like country music, so what do I know? All right. You don't like jamborees? So Caitlin likes country music, but does not want to be part of a jamboree.
Yeah, and I'm sure that comes from the Bear Jamboree comes from the Country Bear Jamboree at Disney.
Yes.
Which is tied into the Gay Day at Disney.
You don't like the Country Bear Jamboree at Disney? You're fired. I was sad this year because so it's under construction right now, the Country Bear Jamboree. They're updating
so they didn't have it.
So, I mean, have you ever been to at Gay Day at Disney at 1 o'clock on the Gay Day at Disney? That's when they tell everybody in red shirts to go. So the entire theater is full of red shirts and people and mostly bears and mostly people who know every word to the Country Bear Jamboree. So they sing along the songs, they crack jokes, they yell things back at them. It's like
Rocky Horror for the bears.
It's a jamboree. It's a joyous jamboree. And you will not take that away from me, Caitlin. All right.
Moving along.
So how do you want to talk about it? Because we did things. Usually you and I will overlap a little bit, but we didn't.
Yes,
this
we
year.
didn't. The one thing that was interesting this year, and we talked about. Well, I mentioned this earlier. That was kind of a sad moment. I'm going to be honest right up front. This had nothing to do with any of the events or the organizations, but this was probably the worst GayDayS weekend I've ever had in my life because a series of unfortunate events just piled on top of each other to make it the worst Friday night that I have ever had in my life. But we'll get to that.
You're so Lemony Snicket right now.
I know. So,
but you covered mostly One Magical Weekend.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we kind of divided up. You did a lot of the
GayDayS
GayDayS stuff.
Hotel.
I did One Magic Weekend. Caitlin covered a lot of the Girls in Wonderland. Bubba covered Bear Jamboree. We kind of had our own. We played zone defense this year.
People had their beats.
Yeah. But what was kind of depressing is prior to this, we usually would have one event that like the whole staff would go to. And we'd have fun and, alternate taking photos and all that. And we didn't have that this year. Everybody just kind of did their own thing. So that part was a little sad.
Is that why it was your worst Friday? Because the event you're referring to
was going to Riptide.
We usually go to Riptide and they give us a cabana and we all hang out there and we have a good time.
Yeah.
It's just that things change. It just wasn't a priority because we have so many things to cover to give everybody the night off, to everybody hang out there. The stars didn't align for it this time. Maybe next year we'll get back to that because it is fun. You know what? Maybe next year we'll do it, and maybe we didn't this year because I'm just so overweight. I was not interested in being at a pool party full of like ripped people.
I got to tell you, for all of the shit I put up with on Friday, some fine ass men out of that event. Good Lord. Anyway, so I Friday, where I had to work a booth shift because they have the expo at the GayDayS and we have a table there, a booth. So I did my booth shift. I went right from working my booth shift to picking Chris up at the airport. So Chris has booked a room with One Magical Weekend, and we're going to go there. We're going to get settled into the hotel. We're going to get ready, and we're going to go to Riptide. So I go pick him up. We go to the house and pack up our bags, and we go to the...
Everything that you were telling me earlier all happened on Friday?
All of it was Friday night. Yeah. So
I thought you checked in on like Thursday. Oh, my God.
No, I picked him up on Friday because he had to work this week.
After your booth shift?
After my booth shift, went right to the airport, picked him up, went to the house, packed our bags, headed to the hotel. So we get to the host hotel.
Yeah, go pop some popcorn and listen to the rest of this because it's long.
So he picked up, or he got his itinerary out, and they look at it and they're like, hey, you're not at this hotel. You booked your room late, so you're at the Overflow Hotel.
And there was no indication at all ever before.
At the top of his itinerary, it did say Fairfield Inns. And I said, that is not the hotel we are standing in, Christopher. And he's
so they told, so
it was, but all it says is Fairfield at the top. It doesn't have an address. It doesn't have any kind of location or anything. It just says Fairfield at the top. And they said, yeah, that's the Overflow Hotel. There's not even an indication on this that says, hey, you're at the Overflow Hotel. So it's just the itinerary with Fairfield written at the top.
I'm so confused. When you're going to a convention and it says, hey, here's the host hotel, and you go there and you buy the room, it says sold out, and then it would send you to where you would get the room.
That is an excellent question to ask Christopher since he booked it.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know is he said he booked the room. I assume it was at the Sheraton. It was not. So we get in the car because we said, oh, where is the Overflow Hotel? And the person at the counter says, I do not know. I believe it's across the street. So we pull out and we go to the hotel across the street, and there's a Hyatt across the street. Now, next to the Hyatt is the Crowne Plaza. That's the Bear Jamboree Hotel. So we go into the Hyatt, and they're like, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. And they looked at his itinerary, and they said, this is at the Fairfield. That's on the other side of I-4. So we get in the car, and we drive over.
That used to be the Girls in Wonderland Hotel.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not anymore.
No.
There were some families checking
That's
in.
kind of a far drive.
It's not bad, but it's not good.
I mean, it's
not right
it's
around
on the
corner.
other side.
Other side of I-4, yeah. So we go over there.
It's not walking distance.
No. So we go in there, and he goes to check in, and they said, yeah, this is not the right hotel. And he said, again, well, which hotel is it? And they said, it is the hotel across the street from the Sheraton. And he said, we went there. It's a Hyatt. And they said, yeah. So we were like, okay. So we went back, and they were like, we're not the right hotel. Maybe you're booked at the Bear Hotel next door. So we walk out, and I said, I'm not walking to the Bear Hotel, Christopher. So we're going to go back to that One Magical Weekend hotel, and they're going to tell us where this damn hotel is, or they're going to get us a room. So we go over there, and we go to the One Magical Weekend desk, and there's this very lovely lady sitting out there, but she has no clue. I mean, if you're working the event, how do you not know where to tell us to go? So there just happened to be this one girl coming on at the Sheraton. She was working the check-in. And she said, you're in the Overflow Hotel. And we said, yeah. And she goes, it's right behind us. She goes, if you go out these doors and go behind the building, there is a walking path that takes you to the Fairfield behind us. So we finally get over there. And I was like, I don't know why nobody knew this, but there's a magical hotel behind the Sheraton. So we get in. And we get booked in the room. We
so
go
it's
upstairs.
not the one on the other side of I-4.
It's not across
okay.
on the other side of I-4, and it's not across the street. It is literally shares a fence with the Sheraton.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, because you can walk there.
That's good planning, because
Yeah.
that makes complete sense.
So we get in there, and we get into our room, and one of the beds, the blankets and pillows are all messed up, and there is a to-go container sitting on the desk, half eaten with chicken Alfredo in it. So I was like,
did you eat the other half?
No. So I said, Chris, we need to go talk to them downstairs. So we go downstairs, and he's like, oh, the person who had that room before you guys had a late checkout, and I guess the cleaning crew didn't come in before. We'll send somebody up. So we go upstairs. We get ready. We get in the car. We go to drive to Riptide. Now, as I get ready, I bought these really nice sandals. I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. They're kind of like artsy. They almost look like 3D printed. They're really cool sandals. So I put them on, and I'm all excited. I've got my swim trunks on. I've got my new sandals on, and I squeeze my fat feet into them, and they're a little snug, but I'm like, it's okay. They're flip-flops. So I get in the car, and I notice that my toes are feeling like they're going numb. And I was like, oh, these are gonna be terrible shoes to wear tonight. But I didn't have any other shoes that I brought with me. So I was like, they're just going to have to do. So we drive over to Riptide. And then I realize I did not bring my wallet. And they check your ID. So my wallet is not in the room. It is sitting on my breakfast nook in my house over by UCF, which is probably about a 45-minute drive from Disney.
That time of day.
Yeah. So I dropped Chris off. And I drive back. And as I'm driving
he was
back,
like... Bye.
I was like, go.
Oh, it was your idea?
Yeah.
Oh,
I told him, I said, go party.
Or did he go like this? I'll go with you.
No. I didn't. I just said, get out of my car. I said, I will be back. So I drove. As I'm on the expressway, getting ready to get on the 408, my gas light is blinking, and I have 27 miles left in my tank. And I look at my GPS, and it's 26 miles to my house. And I was like, I hope to God this is not a false reading. I hope it is a legit 27 miles, because I'm going to be screwed. So I get there. By the time I get to my house, I grab my wallet. I get back in the car. I drive back. I get back to Riptide probably about 11:30. This thing started at 8.
Oh, my God. I would not have gone.
So I got in, and my feet are starting to hurt. And I was like, these stupid sandals. So I slide them off, and whatever is on the inside of these sandals 3D printer or something. There's like jagged edges on each side that have been digging into my feet. So when I take my sandals off, it looks like I have stigmata on my feet. Like I have 2 giant holes in my feet. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to have a good time. I took my sandals off. I was like, I'll walk around barefoot. I don't give a fuck. So we've got a gimbal here. And I was like, I'm going to shoot video and we're going to do fun videos for Riptide. So I've got my phone.
I feel like the story is going to end with we don't have fun videos of Riptide.
Oh, we don't. So I have my phone on the gimbal. Now, the little clamp on the gimbal is apparently a magnet, which in me putting my phone on, dislodged the magnet enough so that when I went to hit the button to take the video, the phone and the clamp flip off of the gimbal and land in the wave pool. And I stared at my phone sitting at the bottom of the wave pool, and tears started to well into my eyes. And I was like, don't cry in front of these boys. And I picked it up. My phone did not work. And I told Chris, I was like, we need to get a drink, and I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. So we got a drink. We had as much fun as I could have, letting my phone dry out. It eventually dried out, and it turned back on. It's acting a little funky now, but it works.
And if I had negotiated a cabana, none of this would ever have happened.
All I needed was a cabana. No, I still forgot my ID. Although I blame Chris for that because he really wanted to get there.
Because he was out of town.
And he was fucking rushing me. And he's like, let's go. And I was like, will you calm down? You're the one who flew in late. His flight was delayed. He had planned to be there earlier, but
get it together, Chris.
The stars aligned, and the day sucked. And so I currently have bandages on my feet because they hurt like hell. And then we went back to the room afterwards, and I went to bed and cried myself to sleep. So that was day 1.
Your stigmata comment reminds me of a joke I heard this weekend. Do you want to hear it?
No, sure.
I'm not telling that joke. I'm not getting kicked out of the family by my mother.
Oh. Anyway. Moving along
has to do
then.
with crucifixions. We'll just move on. I'll tell you later, Caitlin.
Yeah, just remind us. We'll tell you the joke after. So that was it. The rest of the weekend was pretty good. I mean, comparatively. I did the Red Party on Saturday.
There was really no other way to go.
Yeah, there was no way.
Unless you lost your feet, you could not have had a worse weekend.
If Red had turned out like Riptide did, I would not be here today. I was on the verge of calling you as I was driving and my gaslight was flashing, being like, listen, I'm sorry to do this, but I quit the job, Florida, the community. I said, my car's on the side of the road on the 408. Have someone pick it up. I'm just going to walk into existence. And no one will ever see me
and
again.
You know what my response would have been? I'm sorry, but my office hours don't start until 8:30 on Monday. So just finish doing whatever you're doing, and we'll talk about it on Monday.
Sir, these aren't my office hours. But it was miserable. However, you know, aside from...
I will not accept your resignation, just so you know. And unless it comes with like 8 weeks notice, I don't accept it.
And I know this is, again, not One Magical Weekend's fault because they're not the ones who started that stupid drone show down at Disney Springs. But the Red Party, it's at House of Blues. Once we got there, awesome party. They always go all out. It was Buccaneer theme. So there was some sexy freaking pirates walking around there. It was a really good time.
I don't know that those words go together.
There was this one. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s, and super hot, wearing just like little red Speedos and one of those red bandanas around his head. He was only like nipple high to me.
I stand corrected.
And
tell me more.
And I went outside to get some fresh air because they have the balconies there. And he came out and he's like, hey. And I was like, my weekend's looking up. And then what was either his father or his sugar daddy came up and he goes, come on, baby, let's go back inside. I was like, oh. And point to me, you like older men. Point against me, you like older men.
But all before you got a chance to ask him if you could get your hands in some of that booty.
So many pirate
There
jokes.
was a guy who was wearing at Disney, and he had a shirt that said, I think he was straight, but I think he was there to support the gays.
Yeah.
So he had on a red shirt. It was like maroon. So it wasn't like real red. It was like maroon. And it said...
It was ally red.
And it said, yeah, it was ally red. And it said, I'm here for the booty.
Nice.
And I thought it was cute. Because he had on like a pirate get up.
back before I joined Watermark and I was living in Orlando, my sister came into town and was taking her kids to Disney for the first time. Just so happened it was Gay Day at Disney. And my nephew, or my cousin Chris, who's my Aunt Lori's son, him and his sister wanted to go. And I said, oh, it's Gay Day at Disney, so if you want to wear a red shirt. And he was big into Jersey Shore. And I guess fist pumping is a thing they do on Jersey Shore. And it was a red shirt that said fisting for life or something like that. And I said, listen, bro, I'm not going to tell you not to wear that shirt, but you may want to rethink that shirt. He goes, I like this shirt. I was like, okay.
Oh, my God.
I am sure he got stared at quite a bit.
I'm surprised they let him wear it into Disney. I feel like they stopped shirts that they think
Oh,
are
did
offensive.
they?
I feel like they do. I don't know.
Oh, well, I mean, he was like 17, 18. So.
But hey, if the Obamas can do it, he can, right? Remember that when Fox News was saying like how the Obamas kept fisting?
Oh,
because
yeah.
they were fist bumping and they wouldn't say fist bump, they just said they were fisting. It's the tan suit. It brings out the best in you.
Barack was president at the time.
Yeah?
We were free to be the shenanigans we wanted to be.
You know that my brothers and I ended up, I think I said this last year. I'll say it every year when we do a podcast the second week of June, is that we used to, there was like this overnight high school stay thing that you would do. Like, you know, so like, oh, you're a senior and you graduated. Then after graduation, you all go to some place and you have an all-nighter in this place and you play games and hang out with your friends. And then the next day.
I didn't have friends in high school, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I only had friends in high school. I stopped having friends after I graduated. And then we would go to Disney the next day. And it just always happened to be, I feel like we were at the very first Gay Day at Disney. And it just was hilarious to me because I wasn't out to my brothers. And we would just walk around. I'm like, hey guys, hey guys.
Did you?
But they didn't make fun of people. They didn't have a problem with it. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you went to, I didn't go to Disney this year. You went to Disney.
I did go to
Day.
Disney. I will say that my GayDayS experience the whole time was so different than yours.
Yeah.
Because I, for the first time in years, like thoroughly enjoyed so much of it. Like in the past couple of years, I mean, so we're understaffed and we're going here and going there and we got all this stuff to do. But I was really like in the mix of all that chaos, was able to just really enjoy everything that I was doing.
Oh, nice.
Excuse me a second. All right.
You okay?
Yeah, no, I just thought the Red Bull was making a comeback.
Oh, ugh.
I didn't mean to like give them a shout
It's
out.
a garbage can that way.
Well, not like.
Oh,
not
a
like
little gassy.
not like I was gonna Ozempic all over the place. I just had to.
Gotcha.
So I mean, is that what we want to do? We want me to tell you about
tell me
Red
about-
Shirt Day, Gay Day at Disney, and then we can go through other
yeah.
stuff. It's just delightful. I will say the whole experience was less, and sometimes less is more. There just were less people everywhere I had to go. You know, everywhere that I was, it wasn't. So I found myself doing that thing that us older people like to do with the youngins and tell them about the good old days. So I felt like most of the time at the expo booth, because it was, let's be honest, I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings, but it was dead. There were the most people that were there at any given time were probably the people working the other booths, at least at the shifts that I was there. So I spent most of my time describing to Dylan how many rooms it used to have and how big it used to be, and like this person was here and this person was here, and like going on and on about it, which probably is like, he's like, yeah, cool story, Grandpa. And so there's all that. But when we went to Disney, like I think we got the right formula this time. First of all, it wasn't like 1,000 degrees. It was hot, but it wasn't 1,000 degrees. Yeah. Did you end up going there at all? No. But we made reservations for breakfast at like 10:15 at the Crystal Palace. So then we get there, we have breakfast, and then we can hit the points, you know, that you try to hit, which are kind of evaporated because it was always the 1 o'clock Country Bear Jamboree, 3 o'clock parade in front of the castle, and all that sort of changed because the Country Bear Jamboree isn't happening, and then the 3 o'clock parade in front of the castle, I think that's where they line up wheelchairs now, so that kind of became like Frontierland where people gather for the 3 o'clock parade. But now everybody gathers at 5 o'clock in front of the castle for a big photo. So anyway, but we get there and go to Crystal Palace because it's cute, because Winnie the Pooh comes around, and I like to make jokes Winnie the Pooh. We keep talking. Ozempic is just the topic of conversation all the time. So Winnie the Pooh comes around. And, I mean, I used to work at Crystal Palace. I think the way that they like people to say things is I used to be friends with Eeyore. And so Winnie the Pooh comes around.
Hold on. Why do they want you to say I'm friends of Eeyore?
Because they don't want you to destroy the magic.
So if you work there, you say I'm a friend of Eeyore? Why Eeyore?
Because that's who I was a friend of.
Ah. Oh, you were Eeyore.
I was a friend of Eeyore. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't think children listen to this podcast.
Look, I know that they do. They're mad at us because we destroyed Santa last podcast, and now we've destroyed the character system. So anyway, they're walking around, and like Winnie the Pooh, clearly got an upgrade.
Yeah,
because
that's because I'm a friend of Winnie the Pooh's, and I share my
So Winnie the Pooh comes up, and I was like, Pooh, what's up with this? Are you on Ozempic? And he like grabs his face, like, oh my god, that was funny. So anyway, delightful time, and of course I'm sitting there too, like looking up everything I'm about to eat on Weight Watchers. So we were there forever. I think they were gonna kick us out. They're like, get out of here. We were there a long time. So then we got out. We started walking around, and it was really great to sort of relive the magic of what this day is supposed to be, right? Yeah. The day at Disney is supposed to be this day because they said, get out there in your red shirts and show people that we are a part of their everyday lives, even in the most magical place and this family-friendly, most magical place on earth. So it's magical when there were less people, when there were less. Because I've been there at times when the park shuts down at 10 o'clock, when you go to get in line for Splash Mountain, which is not Splash Mountain anymore. But like the entire line one year at Splash Mountain were all red shirts and all people singing Disney songs. So you would be in line for an hour and a half, but it didn't matter. You were having the greatest time. So it wasn't like that this time. Like you would see red shirts here and there, but it just meant when you did get to somebody in a red shirt, it was a great experience. And you're like, hey, thanks for being here. And complimenting. I got so many compliments on the shirts that we had because we had these Orange Bird shirts that had a rainbow on them. And it said, I'm a little fruity. Hilarious. And people really liked those shirts. But it was that was a really cool thing to be a part of. And because it wasn't like so hot, we were able to stay the whole day and ended up going to the photo at 5 o'clock, which I think I tried to I'm really bad about guessing how many people go. I think a lot of people who run organizations are bad at guessing too, because there's not 500,000 people going to some of these events. But I would say there was probably about 400 to 500 people in that photo. And it was just a really cool experience. So it was a lot of fun. I did buy a lot of their Pride stuff too. I bought like the Pride mug because I like to collect mugs. I'll have to stop that eventually as I'm running out of space in my offices for it. But they also have this like a baseball jersey that's black. That's a Pride baseball jersey. I do not need that. It is very thick. You will only be able to wear it like 1 month out of the year. But I bought it, and I bought a fan that's cute. And I bought the gay Stitch. It's adorable.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
How much did you spend on the Disney Pride merchandise?
About $200 more than they spent to advertise that merchandise in Watermark.
So you spent $200.
Yes. Yeah, so let's see if I had anything else to say about that. It was just really cool. I really like it. I really like covering that event. And going around and getting people's pictures, and they get excited, and then you find people like, we were taking pictures of people, and they're like, oh, are you with Watermark? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I love Watermark, which is kind of cool. Oh, the other cool thing that happened is after we got out of lunch, we were walking around, and I never watched the parades. I'm not a parade person. Yeah. I don't want to watch Pride parades. I'm just not a parade person. It's nothing against any of them. And please go watch Pride parades and support them. I went to the Pride parade in New York when I lived there, and that's like 3 hours long. I mean, I stood outside for an hour, and that's about the best they were going to get out of me. I love walking through marketplaces at Pride events, but I just, I don't want to scream for 3 hours waving at people. I'd rather be in it because that's kind of fun. So anyway, we were walking. we left the Crystal Palace to go in front of the castle just to see if anybody was there and get pictures of gay people in front of the castle. And somebody walks up to us and they were like, it's kind of funny, just the way he worded things. He was like, hey, are you guys going to watch the parade? And it was the guy who works there. And we were like, yeah, probably, I guess. And he was like, oh, do you want to watch it from the VIP section? And then we were like, what? Like, yeah, we want to do that. But while we were like looking at each other to decide if we were going to say yes to this, he goes, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I was like, yeah, I know. So I used to be in those parades. So I know where the VIP section is. It's on that bridge that's between Frontierland and the castle. And it's also where like all of the managers stand for the parade. And so if you have any issues while you're in the parade when you get there, you can try to address them with them right there. And I remember when I was friends with the dwarfs, I was a little too tall to be friends with the dwarfs. So I would have to do things to what I was wearing to make it so you couldn't see me. And all of those things had fallen off of me. And I'm like screaming at these people like, you can see me. And they're like, we can't, what? I can't hear you because the music was too loud. And I was like, ugh, just forget it. And went through the rest of the parade. But anyway.
Which dwarf were you a friend of?
I want to say Grumpy just because it must have been. It must have been foreshadowing for my life. No, I don't remember. I don't remember. But I do remember being friends with the Bippity Boppity Boot ladies. I was on a float being their friend once. But several times I was friends with Pluto at the nighttime parade. And that, I have a story about that. They were like, hey, when you get out there, take it easy. It's hot outside. You don't want to go crazy. You got a long parade ahead of you. So take it easy. And I was like, okay. And this is that parade where like, you know, it's like everything has the color lights on it. And at one point they play a point in the song and all the lights change to white. So I get out there and I'm hanging out with Pluto because we're tight. We're friends. And we get out there and people are like, Pluto. And they're all excited, right? So Pluto and I are like, well, we got to put on a show. So I start running back and forth like one side because it's the last thing people see in this parade. And I'm running back and forth and I'm screaming, I'm having a good time. Oh my God. By the time we got to the castle, I was going to die. And I saw this kid drinking something. And I just went, I was like, Pluto, put your face over this kid. And like, looked like he was eating the kid. And I'm like, pour that drink in my mouth. And nobody could hear anything because the music's so loud. And I'm like, please, God, pour the drink in my mouth. And you can hear the mother going, oh, Pluto likes you. He's giving you kisses. And I'm like, I yelled, Pluto doesn't like you. Pluto likes your drink. I'm sure that I'll probably have a no rehire status there now for divulging that. But they didn't hear anything. The music was loud. It was fun. So anyway.
Did the little brat give you his drink?
No, he couldn't hear me. So I get there. Oh, the best feeling I've ever had in my life. The best feeling ever. There's this line when the parade goes through. It's a line. It's like the sight line. If you're on the correct side of that, no one can see you anymore. And they have people standing there. With like towels and fans and ready to unzip whatever. And that feeling of that air hitting me was like, oh. And then they looked at me and they said, you overdid it, huh? I was like, yeah, it won't happen again. I don't know if I was ever friends with Pluto again. But anyway. I
can see why you were later friends with Eeyore.
That was a lot of fun. You know what? You think like people think like, oh, you're indoors. It's gonna be better because it's air conditioned. Yeah. Well, you go indoors during the cold months when they turn the heat on. It is not fun. So anyway, I enjoyed it. I like that day.
Nice.
It's a good time. I'm a traditionalist with it though. I love the meaning behind it and why it's there, and I want it to succeed so much. I want it to, I want it to get that. I want it to get its groove back. You know. I want GayDayS to sleep with Tay Diggs, and I want it to get its groove back.
Wow. That was quite a reference that most of our audience, I hope, gets.
In case, if you don't get it, it's how Stella got her groove back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, I basically stayed to the One Magical Weekend events. They did launch the first year. This is the first year for it. They did the TBT welcome party on Thursday, and it was super well attended. A couple hundred people piled in there. And it was a drag show. It was all local drag, and about half of them were my favorite kind. I'm not a huge drag person, but my favorite kind of drag are celebrity impersonators. So we had
You and I really are different people.
yeah. So they had Lizzo was there, Britney Spears, Whitney Houston, Lady Gaga. I loved it.
Speaking of Lizzo, have you seen the reaction video of Lizzo
Watching the South Park? Yes.
It is heaven.
I love the reaction. I love that episode of South Park. I love it all.
I love that she's like, yo, I'm scared. A fear of mine has come true. There's a South Park bit about me, and then she watches it, and it's called Lizzo instead of like Ozempic, right?
Yeah, if you're too poor to afford, the whole premise of South Park is Cartman's trying to get on Ozempic, but it's too expensive. So there's a drug commercial in there that if you're too poor to afford Ozempic, have your doctor prescribe Lizzo. And it's basically listening to Lizzo, and you don't give a shit that you're overweight.
Yeah, there's no medicine in it.
Yeah,
it's just
listening to Lizzo.
It convinces you that you're fine.
Accept yourself how you are and Lizzo it. So Lizzo reacts to watching that, and she seemed to enjoy it. She was like, I'll own that. Sure. Yeah. Are we allowed to like Lizzo again?
I don't
with
know.
all that trouble she had. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm always
Every time I think it's okay to like somebody, they come out with a new documentary about how terrible they are.
I know. I'm always on the sidelines, so I don't know. I'm not in the thick of it, so I don't know if we're allowed to. I don't know if we're allowed to be Lizzo fans again, or if she's still ostracized for now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe South Park brought it all back.
Yeah. But I mean, Lizzo was.
So I'll say
Lizzo was performing at the thing.
One Magical Weekend looked pretty crowded.
Oh yeah, it was.
People were having a good time.
Everywhere I went was packed.
Now, did you see photos or did you hear? We did send somebody to the sporting events, the Pride Cup events.
Yeah. We've got I pardon my language, a shit ton of photos on the
and that
website.
look good? I haven't done that, and I do enjoy the gay sports, so maybe next year I'll
and it's free. Anybody, I mean, if you want to participate, you have to pay like entrance fees, but to just go watch and have a good time, it's like a field day, 2 days of a field day, completely free. This year it was at the Lake Vista.
They have better sports than like field day and when you were in elementary school.
Yeah,
there's not an egg toss.
There's soccer and there's kickball.
Can you imagine
pickleball, golf?
If there was like they have tug of war. They have egg toss.
I would love it. Now
you have to put the egg on the spoon and put it in your mouth. And
before you start judging it, there is they were going to add it this year, but they didn't have time, so they're going to try to bring it in next year, and it's going to be I forget what they call it, and I apologize if this is offensive, but like geriatric sports day. Like for older people to come out and do field day type stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure that's not the word.
Adaptive sports. That's what it is. It's called adaptive sports. And it is basically field games like that for older people to get out and be active. It is co-sponsored. It'll be the Pride
Is there going to be an egg toss? I hope they use hard-boiled eggs.
I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe don't be so judgy because we'll all be that age soon.
Be judgy. I'm probably going to enter to play. I'll be 50 next time the GayDayS rolls around.
Will.
And 50, I believe, is the age. They don't call it geriatric. They call it
AARP.
What do they call it? It's not old timers.
Senior games.
No, there's a
senior.
There's a softball. There's a division of softball that's for 50
know.
and older. And
Golden League.
Maybe
the Silver League.
Either one of those would work, but it's not one of those. We could say her for hours and I won't think of it. So
I mean, Caitlin could Google it, but she's too busy writing the stories.
I don't. It's not Hall of Famers. It's something like. Anyway, But yeah, I think that's great that they'll do that. I want
to see what Caitlin types in. Baseball for 50. Okay, 50 plus.
It's softball.
I thought she was gonna be like old people baseball. OBA, what's that?
I think that you want to put in softball.
Oh yeah,
and
true. She put in baseball.
And if you want to type things like it's NAGA NAGAA softball for people over 50, and it'll probably say what that is. I was like something like Legends. I'm sure this makes for great listening while people are in their car. So I'll
The North American Gay Amateur Athletic blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, it looked like it was a great time. They got some great sports, soccer and kickball and golf.
It's nice
and all
that they have that. It's almost like, so here's the thing that I'm going to say, and gosh, I hope this doesn't make all the promoters angry.
Sure.
But it just seems like the reason I want it to be so successful all the time is because there's really something for everybody, depending on which group you go to, right? So, the Girls in Wonderland really kind of has the market cornered on girl events. Yeah. And from what I hear, those are spectacular and wild, and people have a good time. Then there's
almost like it's a whole Wonderland.
There's the sports thing. There was a push once to change, to get GayDayS, the whole week's name changed to Wonderland.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that was not successful.
No.
So then you've got like the One Magical Weekend group that has they got the market cornered on like the hot guy circuit party, muscles.
I don't know how the rest of them are, but the One Magical Weekend, that's a nipples out kind of party.
Yeah. And then there's but then the same people that do that are also involved with Kindred Pride, which is what holds Pride Cup, right?
Yes.
So they aren't just there for circuit boys.
Kindred Pride is One Magical Weekend. They're the spearhead, but it's also Girls in Wonderland.
Oh, okay.
It's also I think Come Out with Pride, the Pride Chamber. It's a bunch of organizations that are kind of partnered together.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And they do the Pride Cup.
They do the Pride Cup. Yeah.
Right. And that's great. And then you've got the GayDayS host hotel, which, the only way I can kind of describe that is that just seems to be the
geriatric.
No, it's like that's a place where everyone is. I mean, everyone's welcome at all of them. So I don't want to, anybody get mad, but I'm just saying like that seems to be the place where really everyone is welcome. Like I think that there are people that you will see at the GayDayS host hotel that you won't see at other places. And I love that sort of diversity of it. I love that it's all the letters, it's everybody, all types. You don't have to look a certain way or be a certain way. You just go there and have a good time. But everything has something for everybody. So I really just want to see it all succeed. And in this age of where things are closing, Parliament House closed and people were really upset about that. Hamburger Mary's is moving out of downtown and people are up in arms about that.
I don't know if you're seeing this as you're talking, but Caitlin's going through the names of the teams for the softball league, and she is having a gay old time over there.
The names are good. Yes, they're like gay bowling league names. Those are always fun.
The Liberty D Swingers. I've been there. Onslaught D.
I was on
Surge
a team.
D. There's a lot of D up there.
I'm on Surge D.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. There was I was also on a team called the Home Wreckers, which was funny because it's all a pun about baseball. It was about home base. So anyway, what I was saying, which I think is a very important message for the community to listen to, listen, the success of this, of GayDayS, of the GayDayS.com host hotel, of One Magical Weekend, of Girls in Wonderland, the success of all of this is up to our community. So we don't want to find out 2 years or 3 years from now for people saying like, oh, I'm so sad that this isn't here anymore. If you want it to be here, then you need to go and participate and be an active. It's so unique, right, to Orlando, this event. Like this Gay Day at Disney thing started grassroots here. So let's keep it alive. Let's not lose it. And I say that because a lot of things that I went to, so you were in a different realm than I was in. The things that I went to were not very well attended, and which is sad because they were amazing. I'll give you some examples.
Yeah.
As soon as I find it.
Yeah. I mean, while you look that up, I will reiterate or hop on your bandwagon. These are a lot of fun events. If you don't attend, they're not going to go. And there's things out there for everybody. Between the staff, we went to probably 36 events, and they are very different and a very eclectic group. So there's something out there for everybody, whether you like to dance and party or whether you want to hang out and play some bingo or sing some karaoke or just sit poolside. There's stuff to do for everybody.
Yeah, and let's let the community organizations get involved. Demand that it fulfill its destiny and be this amazing gay mecca that it used to be. Like, get involved. You know, businesses, be part of the expos. Nonprofits, be part of the expos. Get in there. So at the GayDayS Hotel, they have all these different shows that they do. So one of them was called Dazed and Confused, and it brought in Randy Roberts and Varla Jean Merman.
I don't know her.
Yeah, I didn't either, honestly. Like, so I've learned something this year, and that is that I actually really do enjoy drag. I've always said drag's not my thing, but celebrity impersonators, not so much my thing. Female impersonators, not so much my thing. But this like drag
dick and fart jokes, my thing.
Oh my god, you're gonna pretend to play a harmonica with your vagina for 15 minutes during a show? I will vote for you for everything possible. I will, and that happened in this show. It was hilarious, and like comedy drag is definitely my thing. Miss Comedy Queen, like that pageant, I loved it, and I loved this show so much. Now, part of what made it funny and also not funny is that it was in this huge ballroom that must have had 300 chairs in it, and there were like 15 people, and it was kind of funny. The Varla Jean made a comment that she's like, thank you all for being here. She's like, don't mind the extra chairs. I asked them to put them here because I don't like to feel claustrophobic. But what is so, and this is, you know, we talk a lot about performers and how like comedians and performers, how they will chastise an audience that's not giving them back what they want. That is not, these professional entertainers. They didn't care that it was just 12, 15 people. They said, we have a job to do and we're going to entertain you. And they were just spot on and incredible. And Randy Roberts sings all of his own music. I mean, well, they both do, right? So they take songs that are famous. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but they rewrite it. And it's something really funny and amazing. Such a good show. I am jealous of Fort Lauderdale that they have them there. I mean, I feel like we're blessed because we get Ginger Minge. They're blessed because they get Randy and Varla Jean. But they are just, I think they're going up to P-Town to do shows up there now. And I think Ginger Minge is headed up there to do shows. I've never been, and I feel like I need to go and see all these shows because it was just that good. I cannot overstate how much I loved it. So that's something I got to do. Really, 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 really great. I also, so Danny, who is our sales director here, he had a couple of events that he was supposed to cover, but he came into some sort of emergency, somewhat medical emergency, not a big deal. He's fine. But he couldn't make it to a couple of events.
He had tooth decay. He had a dental emergency.
He had a dental emergency. It wasn't decay. I don't want to I don't got to call him out. I don't want to say what it was, but we'll also say it wasn't decay. I don't want him to come in to the office tomorrow and I listen to your podcast. I brush my teeth, assholes. So, one of the events that he couldn't cover was it was country night, GayDayS country night at the Pavilion. So we went to this, and like a couple of events that they did, they were empty. You know, we went to this thing. I'm only pointing this out because something that cracked me up about it is that they were teaching line dancing, and then they would play music for a while, and then they teach line dancing again. So when we walked up, the sense I got, there were two people line dancing, and I get the sense that those were the instructors, so they were hosting it. But then there was a table where two people were at, and they were just two girls, and they were dressed in their country garb and all that, and they're having a good time. There was a third person at the table, and that was the DJ, who was hanging out at the table with the two girls. So then I think Dylan knew the DJ, so they were talking. And then these are all the people there. There's a bartender there, right? So that's two people watching, the DJ, the bartender, and the two people that are doing the line dancing, and then Dylan and I. So the one of the line dancing hosts grabs a microphone and announces on the microphone, in 5 minutes we will be teaching another line dance, and I just laughed so hard because I was like, you could have just walked over to the table and just said, hey, you too, if you want to learn how to line dance, we're going to teach it in a minute.
Well, maybe they were hoping the speakers would reach some of the rooms.
Yeah, that must. Yes, I would go with that. Now we didn't stay much longer after that, so it was a hours long event. So maybe more people showed up. I don't think so, because I mean, there were events that we went to cover that we would take pictures of, and there was 0 people there. So we don't post those.
Yeah.
We're not going to run with those. But I do want to talk about this other thing. And I want to talk about it for a very specific reason. So,
I hope to God it's what I think you're
yes.
going to
Yes, we're going to talk about this.
I will say, even I love One Magical Weekend. I covered all their events this year. I'll probably cover all their events next year. I am going to slip away, though.
And go to this event.
Because of all the years they've had this event has never been described to me of what it actually is. Go.
All right. So, I'm a prude.
Yes.
Look,
I'm not.
I'm a prude. I'm a prude, and I think that porn should be watched in the privacy of your own bed.
I like live theater porn.
No, so it's like it's porn bingo, right? So it's
porn star bingo is what
it's
its
porn
official
star
title,
bingo, and we have sent this is what I want to describe this as.
I just want to preface this by saying my apologies to the University of Central Florida because I did not know this in the past if I ever sent an intern to this.
No, so we have, but this is my point. We send people to this every year that they do it. Every year that they've done it, we have sent somebody there.
Sometimes an intern.
Sometimes an intern. Sometimes I think
Danny
like a
might have-
Caitlin.
Yeah.
No, Danny's never been.
Oh, he's never been?
No, he had never been. So this was the first year. But like Kyler,
Is
I
this
think
why we have high turnover?
it's like we had to sing Kyler, I think once,
Yeah.
or like typically like maybe
The newbie.
Deandra may have been, but I think she would have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's usually the newbie thing. Like the newbies get bears and porn bingo, right? That's the things that they have to cover. So so we're making up a schedule. We scheduled Danny for this, and then Danny's sick, so I was like, well, I'll go. And the reason we go is to take photos, right? We go to these events to check in and take photos and post galleries and all this kind of stuff. So years we've been sending people here, and everybody acts like everything's fine and normal, and no one has ever said there was an issue. So I'm like, just cover it. No big deal. I noticed right off the bat something was off because we're in line to get in, and I think so the director of the center.
Really quick, I do want to say one thing because before they do porn star bingo there, they do drag bingo.
Yes.
And you covered both. And you sent me a photo of the crowd at drag bingo.
Yes.
And it was
a good crowd.
It wasn't bad. But then you sent me a crowd of porn star bingo.
Packed.
Not an empty seat in
Right.
the house.
When we left this event and we walked around the hotel. No one was anywhere. Everyone was in that
all
room.
At porn star bingo.
Everyone's in that room. So we're sitting there and we're in line to go in, and the guy makes an announcement, and he says, "Keep your cell phones in your pocket. If you pull your cell phone out, we will ask you to leave. We'll escort you, and you don't get your money back." And I'm like, okay. I was like, you know what? I get it. Maybe it's because they're stars. For those
air quotes he's doing if you're not
quoting.
watching the video.
Like they're porn stars, right? And so and the porn site, I don't even know. Have you ever been to this Fab Scout?
I haven't. Do you want me to Google it?
No, I mean I went. Well, I went to it because I was like, I'm going to talk about it, so let me go see what it's about. And then there's like a thing on how to apply, but that's it. There's no. Oh, and there's a thing where you can look at where you can see who the models are, but there's nothing going on. So I'm wondering, is this like it says adult entertainment? So I'm wondering if it's just like for escort bookings or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. So, and I don't judge either. So if that's what it's for, right on for all of you buying and all of you getting.
Scout?
So it's all good. FABSCOUT.com. So they say that no phones. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't seem off. That seems kind of normal. And I was like, so instantly I'm like, well, what did all the people take pictures of for the past couple of years if you can't take? So I took a picture of everybody standing in line, which they probably all were like, now they think it's like when the cops used to show up at the gay bars to write everybody's license plates down in the 70s. Like, oh, great. Like, I'm going to give it to Chris Hansen. Is that the guy? The lemonade guy and the cookies? So anyway, then you get in there and it's packed. And so the first thing they do is they introduce all of the porn stars. They say their name, where they're from, and what they're into. And so Sexually, that is. Not movies.
Like top, bottom, verse
Yes.
type thing? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then they make fun of whatever they say. Right? So they go through and they announce.
Were there any sides?
What?
Sides? Have you heard of Have you heard of this? Have you seen this? It's kind of popular now. So you've got your tops, bottoms.
I have no idea where this is going.
And verse. And then sides are people who will do everything except for intercourse. They're called sides.
All right.
Yeah.
Because like intercourse is the main meal, so
yeah,
they
so
only eat the
they
sides.
do all the side dishes.
Because it's too many points to eat the main meal.
They're all on Weight Watchers.
Vegetables and fruits are free.
Do you have a list of the names of the people who were there?
I know some of them.
Give me names.
Well, I do know. I only
Was
recognize.
Brody there?
I think so. I recognize one of the names.
There's 2 Brodies where there 3 you gotta love a site that's got 3 Brodies.
There was Hunter Vance is the only name I recognized because he used to live in Sarasota and owned a gay bar there and used to advertise with us. So anyway, they introduce them all and then they send them out into the crowd. They say, go mingle. So their job, right, all is normal so far, as they all go around and they just mingle and they're like, hey, and it's also kind of co-hosted by this gay vacay group. And so they're trying to get people to fill out a thing to win a free cruise. And you may win a free cruise, but you will definitely win a bunch of phone calls. So they're going around passing those out. And then so the porn stars are being all cute and they like sit their butts on the table and wiggle around and be like, give me some money. Yeah. And so they're doing this whole thing. But then Addison Taylor, who is hosting it, who is hilarious, by the way, and great host of the show, says, y'all get ready. If we ever call 069 for 60 seconds, the whole room goes crazy. And they're making jokes like, consent is your friend and blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, okay, well, this sounds fun. So they play the first game. Very normal. No one, don't call 069. Somebody wins bingo and they give them a bag of whatever. It's like some red bag full of prizes, I guess. And then Addison says, I'll tell you what, if by game 3 we don't call 069, I'm just going to randomly shout it out several times. Didn't have to. During game 2, yells 069. So then, I don't know the guy's name, and I'm going to liken him to Lou Pearlman just so that you get the sense that, like, hey, he's the leader of the boy bands.
He's the ringleader.
He's the ringleader of the group. So he starts like snapping his fingers at all the boys, and he's like, "Get up on stage! Get up on stage!" One guy was having a long conversation, and he walked through the crowd. Hey, get up there! So they get up on stage, and so now they're all up there, and like they're like 60 seconds starts now, and they all just start. They turn around and they're all just kind of shaking their butts, right? Like they're twerking, and then this guy like they all of them kind of lower their pants so their butts hanging out, and they're like, "Oh, look, my butt's hanging out." Then this one guy. Let's just say he's blessed. A very blessed individual, like, drops him down to his knees and is just kind of shaking it. And I was like, okay, I expect all of this to be happening. And then, so now they've all kind of pulled their Speedos down to their knees, kind of a thing. And then out of, like, from the back, this one bottom who had labeled himself a bottom comes flying up to the front of the stage, and there's this other bottom who's got his junk hanging out and is swinging it like this, and he just goes to town. Yeah. He like I don't know, like he was like, it was the 4th of July and he wanted a hot dog real bad. So he had a mouthful of it, going to town on it, and Dylan and I just looked at each other like, what? Like, we don't belong here. Not that we don't belong there. It's just, and I kept thinking to myself,
Did you drink something? Because as you're telling this story, you're making mouth sounds, and I don't like the story with the mouth sounds.
Sorry, y'all. I got a little dry mouth thinking about what was happening. So it was just it was a very, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
More power to him. That's what people went to see. Yay. I did not expect that.
So how did the event end?
Because we have sent interns there to cover this event, and we have sent people who have never reported back to me.
I'll tell you right now,
sex is going on.
An intern will never cover that event again.
No.
I will cover that event.
I will never cover that event again. I will simply go to enjoy it. Yeah, I was kind of like, Dylan and I were like, do you want to go to the country thing now? So after that we left. That was game 2, and I don't know if by game 7.
That's why the line dancing was empty.
I know. I mean, that place was packed. You know, no, it reminded me of these videos that I had seen, and I don't know how I came across these videos.
Sure.
I'm just gonna sit in that for a second. That they're like these parties. They're like where like strippers come out and people are all sitting around and the strippers get naked and then people start filleting the strippers and then they're there with their friends and they're like, and then one person will go to town on this and then like the person will like dance over to somebody else and then they'll go at it without even wiping it off.
Yeah, what kind of sites are you on?
And then they go to Pineapple Healthcare. No, I don't know. I don't know how this video came into my life. I don't know if somebody sent it to me or like, oh my God, or if it was like some site that they popped up where they have several videos like that.
I had no idea that things on
I know
the
this may
internet
surprise
were
some
on
people,
this,
but I have
like
seen
the
a video
internet.
or two. And it's just weird.
Shocked.
What's weird about it is like, you know,
I've heard there's a particular tab on Pornhub that is just those videos.
okay, well that must be what it was on.
Must have been.
But it's like, here's the thing, like,
okay,
we're friends.
Since we're going to talk about that.
We're friends. But
doesn't
we're
it seem
not
staged.
But we are not going to. I will not sit next to you.
No, I'm pretty sure those
like,
videos
hey,
are staged.
Jeremy, this one tastes good. Give it a lick. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
That made me snort. Yeah.
So anyway, I
didn't stay for the whole
I didn't stay
event.
for the whole event.
All right.
The whole event.
Did it get to the whole event?
I don't know. I didn't stay.
If
I
you
imagine-
stayed for the entire time at Pornstar Bingo, send us an email.
Yeah.
Let us know how it ended.
Yeah, I mean, and be descriptive because I know there's no videos or
Leave
pictures.
no detail out.
It's just, I mean, I must say this. I am not judging one bit this thing.
I'm not judging. I'm booking.
Neither the people who were involved or the people watching. Like, more power to you. I just didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Because we have sent a 19-year-old girl to this event to cover it.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm sure we did.
I mean,
We tell them, no, we're going to have to change our speech at the internship fair because we'll say, like, you may go to city council and cover a city council meeting, and then the next day you're covering Pornstar Bingo. No, you will never cover Pornstar Bingo. We will never do that to you, and I apologize.
and if you are an intern or looking to become an intern,
And you want to.
and you want to, we're not going to tell you you can't.
No, just go on your own time.
Just let me know I am okay with this, and then I'll be, all right, you can cover it. But I'm not going to force someone to go to that.
Yeah.
Especially when I have free time and I can go to it.
But I all in all, a good time. I love GayDayS. I can't help it. I do. It's a lot of work. We get tired. We're busy. But it's, I enjoy it.
Good time.
All right.
It'll be back next year.
So then the other thing we did,
Oh, yeah. So
we did something else. And now, we're going to cover this in 30 minutes. But it's not a really funny topic, so we probably shouldn't, we're not going to spend an hour cracking jokes about this.
No,
it's not a funny topic.
So, one thing that we did that it was not tied to the GayDayS weekend, but it happened. It just so happened that the first weekend of June was June 1st and 2nd, and to celebrate the kickoff to Pride Month, Orlando Sings, which is a local choir organization, professional choir organization, had a show called Considering Matthew Sheppard that was performed at the Dr. Phillips Center. So we did a preview story on it. It's on our website, watermarkonline.com, so check it out. And they were gracious enough to give us a pair of tickets to go see the show. So you and I, Sunday afternoon, took a drive over to Dr. Phillips, and we saw the show.
Now, it is not it's not solely an LGBTQ plus organization, correct?
No, I thought it was. However, the guy who started it, I believe, is LGBTQ. And there's a lot of LGBTQ performers in it.
Yeah.
The main performer who sung as Matthew Sheppard in this is LGBTQ. And there's a couple other queer performers there as well. For those who don't know what Considering Matthew Sheppard is, the best way to describe it, this is how it was described to me. And after seeing it,
It's
a very accurate description. It's like a passion play. If you've ever seen a passion play around Easter time, it's a passion play, but it's based on Matthew Sheppard instead of your Lord and Savior Jesus
They still
Christ.
do Passion Plays?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you were like, if you've seen Passion Play and you're 8,000 years old,
Oh,
you probably would have enjoyed this.
Churches, usually around Easter, a lot of churches, at least in the South, do Passion Plays.
Because Passion Plays were like the beginning of theater.
Oh, Passion Play is the recreation of the crucifixion of Christ.
Well, they were plays like back in Greeky times. They were called Passion Plays.
Modern day Passion. I think most people nowadays, when they do Passion Plays, it's
well,
it's
yeah,
the
because
crucifixion.
because after Jesus, everything's about Jesus, and nothing existed before him, and even so, more now, American Jesus, because that's where he's from.
Go on.
I think I'm done. Oh, this joke. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with the Easter Passion Plays, this is
America
tied around that. So go ahead.
What, did I have something to say? So let's talk about the show. You want to talk about the show, and then we'll talk about. We're gonna assume for the next 5 minutes that you all know everything about Matthew Sheppard, and then we will tell you about Matthew Sheppard later on. It's something else that we watched. Because we decided what we wanted to do is we'll just watch a couple of things about Matthew Sheppard since we're seeing this, and we'll kind of talk about it. Because to me, the story of Matthew Sheppard is one of the most significant stories of my lifetime. And so I definitely jumped on this. Please get us tickets. Let's go see this. Now, the talent in this group is insane. They're vocally amazing, and the music was beautiful. Like the whole thing was just beautiful. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this may have biased me a little bit. But I believe that right before the show started, you read something and said that the lyrics to the songs are based on poems that were written about Matthew Sheppard.
They are. Let me pull them up here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Hey, Caitlin, how's it going? She's doing well. For those that can't hear.
I don't know if the poems were specifically written about
but
Matthew
they are
Sheppard,
poems.
but it was based off of a series of poems, and it was formed into this.
So he may not have even be the one that liked all those things.
Written or composed by Greg Hella Johnson.
It's not just Johnson. He's Hella Johnson.
I thought we weren't going to make jokes.
I can't help it. Look, this is what I do. I laugh through serious things.
I will read. This is from the Matthew Sheppard Foundation website on Considering Matthew Sheppard, composed and conducted by Craig Hella Johnson. Approaching the eve of the 20th anniversary of Matt's murder, composer Greg Hella Johnson responded with his first concert-length work, Considering Matthew Sheppard. This 3-part fusion oratorio speaks with a fresh and bold voice, incorporating a variety of musical styles seamlessly woven into a unified whole. Johnson sets a whole range of poetic and soulful texts by poets, including Hildred of Bingen, Leslie Newman, Michael Dennis Brown, and Rumney. Okay, so I guess it's a collection of poems that were written specifically about Matthew Sheppard
that makes
by
sense.
a variety of poets.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Passages from Matt's personal journal, interviews and writings from his parents, Judy and Dennis Sheppard, newspaper reports, and additional texts by Johnson and Brown are poignantly appointed throughout the work.
Yes. So I'm not really into poetry. So that explains a lot to me. That explains a lot. Look, I'm going to say, like, the style of show wasn't, like, didn't grip me like I wanted it to, right? But I don't want anyone to think for a second that has anything to do with anyone but me, because the Orlando Sings is super talented, and it was great.
And I think because it's a collection of different types of music, and I think it'll depend on your feelings of this type of music. So it's opera. There was a jazz number in there. There's some country. It's a bunch of variety of different types of music.
Yeah, it's like when Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. He was like, let's make every song a different genre and see if people enjoy it.
You know, I've never seen that.
Do you
show.
know that like it's really crazy? Like,
never even heard the music.
It's very so.
I don't even know Joseph. What is his?
You don't know Joe? You don't know Joe. Anyway, very very talented. It was,
Yes.
and I learned something that I didn't realize. I don't know how I missed this detail. That there was this, that when the cops showed up, like after, so a biker finds Matthew Sheppard tied to a fence post, or to a fence, and calls 911, or I don't know, it's Wyoming. Did they have cell reception? They didn't have cell phones back then. He had to go somewhere else and call the sheriff or something. So they drive out, and the cop said when she pulled up that there was a deer sitting next to him, and that it was just laying there as if it had been there with him all night. And that when she pulled up, it
went away after somebody had come to Matthew.
And I thought, I had never heard that before, and it just, I mean, it was a beautiful thing to think about. Yeah. And amidst all
I
of
honestly
this.
thought you liked this show because at that moment I heard you sniffle. And I was like, he's crying. And then because I'm very uncomfortable with crying, I did not look at you the rest of the show.
Oh, really?
I was so, because I heard, and maybe it's allergies, maybe you were just stuffy, but when they said that doe part, I heard you kind of sniff a little bit, and I was like, if I look over and he's crying, I won't be able to handle it. So I just looked forward the whole time.
How funny that I was like fidgety and making nose noises, and you're like, oh, he's crying, and I was probably asleep.
Yeah. The whole time you're sleeping.
and I'm fidgety, like, because I'm
and
just
like
really
nudging
uncomfortable.
Sarah next to me. I'm like, oh my God, he's so moved by this.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
No, I just, it's nothing to do, like, I just want to point, it's nothing to do with the talent and the quality of the show, because it was great.
It is such a crazy talented group.
It was the end of a very long weekend, and it was so beautifully cold.
It was very chilly.
It was so cold in there. And then, like, the instruments that were playing, the songs that were playing, it was like music that would play at a spa.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Yeah. And I was just like, huh.
Now, I will say, contrary to what Rick said, and this will surprise so many people because we're so in line on everything we like so far, I loved this. I was so enthralled with this.
I'm so surprised to hear you say that. In fact, you wouldn't look at me, but I kept looking at you to see if you were awake.
I was awake the whole time.
I know. I know.
I loved this.
You were awake every time. You know what happened to me though? Like, and I felt bad because we're like in the third row, and I know they could see us.
Yeah.
And I would like, maybe they just thought like, oh, he's really into the music. But I'd open my eyes, and like a person that wasn't there before is standing right in front of me.
Yeah, there's a couple of times they come right to the, and I don't know if this was in the Joseph and Alex Pew.
The Pew Theater.
Yeah, the theater where like the seats are literally the row A, literally up against the stage.
In fact, I think if you sit in row A,
you have no leg room.
You get your union card for an act.
You're basically
in the show.
So we're
get
in
your
row
SAG
C,
card.
and there's 3 times
Actors
when they
Equity.
come up to the very edge of the stage, they bring the house lights up and they sing to your face. And knowing now that Rick was asleep cracks me up.
Listen, I was awake. I was awake the time they turned the lights on, unless they did it more than once.
They did it 3 times.
I was awake once. I noticed it once. Listen, it's my fault. Look, I enjoyed it. I really appreciate them giving us tickets. Yeah. It was beautiful. The sound that everyone was making was beautiful. It's just like some of it was just strange to me.
It's a very particular kind of artsy.
Yeah, it's and everyone was wearing black. So there were moments that reminded me of the SNL skit about the kids in high school theater wearing all black and doing the thing. Because there was like a moment where like this must have been the moment where the fence sang a song. That the lights go out and the spotlight comes up and the lady who's playing the Judy Sheppard character kind of goes into the thing and just looks at everybody with this. It's just this look of like, and goes, the fence was taken down. Yeah. And then gets back out of the...
Okay, there was one particularly... on the far right, I will say this, and I don't mean in an offensive way, the adorable little twink-looking fella.
Adorable.
Yeah. And I believe the way that the kids would describe him nowadays is he gave total...
Riz?
No. What's that dog? Not a German golden retriever energy.
Oh.
Like total golden retriever energy. And he just looks so kind. there's a song in here where they're singing about the Westboro Baptist Church, and a few people hold up signs, and I'm looking, I'm like, you are just such an adorable little singer. And he pulls out a sign that says, God hates fags. And I was like, no. And then
Not
at
you.
the song where you're talking about where the fence is broken, 3 people come out of from the chorus and like knock the fence over, and he's one of them.
I know.
And I was like,
Knock-
why?
Knock.
Why are you doing this?
You say knock the fence over. It was the most undramatic knocking over of a fence that I've ever
Like,
seen. It was
the people are right there. You can't knock it into them.
it was like
Yeah. You just want to make sure it didn't land in the audience.
I understand. I understand the whole thing. I get it. Look, it was really good, and they were very talented. I would be interested in seeing something else that they do to see what that encompasses.
Yeah.
Like
now they have different like groups. Like they have their large group, and this was the Solera group. There's like 3 smaller groups from the larger group that does some concerts. So this is the Solera group, and until I see something else they do, I will refer to them as the gay group, just because I've only seen them do the Matthew Sheppard show.
yeah. So they must be.
But I loved them. I thought
Yeah,
they were all super talented.
They're very talented. Like the voices and the way that they combine them. It was
like when they
really
were
great.
harmonized, all singing together. It felt very biblical.
Maybe
to
you
me.
heard the person behind me sniffling because they were
Maybe.
sniffling a lot.
We were surrounded by a lot of people who cried, which surprised me that you didn't then. I'm actually a little surprised you didn't like the show. I thought you liked stuff like this. So
I appreciated it, and I'm saying that they're talented. It just I think I didn't know what to expect,
yeah,
and so it was not what I thought I wanted to see, and so that probably just confused the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like the song about because I get the point, right? You want to. Everything, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Everything that you watch about Matthew Sheppard is about his death.
yeah.
And so I think one song in this is they wanted to show him as a person.
Yeah, I believe the name of it is Ordinary Boy.
Right.
And it's like a listing of things that he liked.
But it's strange to me because it's not like Julie Andrews singing Here Are a Few of My Favorite Things, which has a nice little melody, this whole thing, you can dance to it. This was just sort of this operatic listing of things like camping, fishing, hunting, theater. Yeah. Thank you. Oh my God, I was thinking right back there.
Because they do. He was big into theater. So like they're like listing off things like theater, and then they all go, theater. And it's like, oh, he really likes theater.
Oh, they did. They said it twice. So much that they even had a script from a play.
They did, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
It was,
and I can
show.
get it. It's very.
It was stylized. You know what I mean? It's a
stylized.
very
That's the word I'm looking for.
stylized
Yeah.
show. And so if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But they are so talented and so good that you should go see them perform.
Yeah. Find
because,
something that you like that they do and go see it because they
it
are
is-
in a talented
It is a
group.
level of talent, and it amazes me. I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but we live in a city that is full of so much talent, and Orlando Sings is a big part of that.
Yes. And I know a lot of you are sitting at home listening to this being like, how come I've never heard of them? Well, here's why. They've only been around for 3 years. This is only their 3rd season. And it was started, I should have pulled the story up that we wrote because we talked to him, the guy who started it, in the middle of COVID. So he was at home and, he had been, furloughed from his job. And he's like,
That's a better
I've
word
always
than fired.
I know, right? It sounds better. I took time to be with my family. And he this is something he's always wanted to start. And he was like, you know what? No better time than in the middle of a pandemic. And then he started it, and this is their 3rd season.
Good for them.
And
I can't wait. I hope that we cover a lot of things that they do. It's just, it's really, there's a lot of talent. And and like it reminds me of Central Florida Arts. They do things too. That I think that this is like I'm going to compare it to something that Central Florida Arts did. They did a concert version of Titanic where people wore the costumes and sang. That's probably what I expected. I expected it to be some sort of a concert play, and it was not. It was a passion play, which it exactly is what you think a passion
Andrew
play is.
Manier is the guy who started it.
Okay, so because of this, we decided that we were going to. We were going to watch the show, but we said, let's take the opportunity to watch some other things about Matthew Sheppard and talk about his life in general.
Yeah.
So we watched apparently last year.
Last year it was the 25th anniversary, or 21st. I hate to call it an anniversary. The 25-year mark of Matthew's death.
Right. And so we watched the Matthew Sheppard story, An American Hate Crime, which is also, I want to point out that there is a movie called The Matthew Sheppard Story, which I'll talk about in a second. But there's also a movie called An American Hate Crime, which is about two guys who got bored and lured some gay guy, and it's not about Matthew Sheppard.
Really?
So we should probably watch that too at some point, because it's like a 2018 movie. I might try to find out where to watch that.
Yeah.
So, but this is a documentary. Now I don't know if is it John? Is that his father's name? Is it Judy and John?
Dennis.
Oh, right. Judy and Dennis Sheppard. I don't know if they were like, listen, we've done enough documentaries. We're not doing another one.
Yeah.
But so
I mean, nothing right off the bat. Nothing against this documentary, but I mean, they probably heard the premise and said that's been done. This felt very like it's been done before. 25 years later, I expected, let's take a look at the past 25 years and how that event has shaped the last 25 years. And 90% of it is the Matthew Sheppard murder and the days leading up to
and
it,
even the
after
people that so they talk to a handful of celebrities, and these celebrities, they talk about the moment that they were in when they saw this happening, and then but it does talk about how things it spends about the last 10 minutes talking about all the things that have changed because of that. So I didn't have a problem with the structure of it.
If anybody ever if you were watch How I Met Your Mother, one of the things that irked a lot of people, me included, a fan of the show, is the first, I believe it went on for 9 seasons. The first 8 seasons drags on of how he met his mother. And it's all these stories of his friends leading up to that. The 9th season, the entire season takes place over 3 days. And once he meets the mother in the last episode, it's like the last 15 minutes of the episodes. And it's like, that's how this felt. It's like we heard all the stuff that we've heard before. And then, like, the last 5 minutes, we rushed from 2001 to
and you're not going to like how it ends. But in this documentary, one thing I like about it, so I guess at one point an oral history was made of the Matthew Sheppard event, and so everyone involved. I
actually wrote down the note that they had in there, and it said. In 2011, the state of Wyoming hired a historian to conduct interviews with people connected to the Matthew Sheppard case.
Yeah, so it was the sheriffs, it was the police that was there, it was friends and
his
parents, and so a lot of comments from Judy Sheppard and Dennis are comments that were made in that oral history. But one thing I do like about it is that two people they talk to that are main parts of this are his friends from college, which is Romaine and
John.
I think maybe that's where I'm coming up with John. And those are the two people that were instrumental in creating the Angels.
Yeah. In fact, if you saw the Laramie Project, the movie, HBO made the movie out of the play. Christina Ricci plays Romaine.
Yeah, and they were just because Fred Phelps and his team showed up. If you don't know who the Westboro Baptist Church are, good for you, lucky for you, because they were awful, awful people who picketed his funeral with signs that said God hates fags and Matthew's burning in hell and all this kind of stuff. And so when they knew when the verdict was going to be handed down in the trial, they knew that Fred Phelps was coming, so they made these angel wings that they all wore and lined.
Well, they did it first at his funeral because they were going to come to the funeral.
See, I get confused about it because they showed up somewhere and the angels weren't there, and then they knew they were coming back.
Was it maybe they were at the hospital?
No, I think they picketed the funeral because in the movie they picket the funeral because he says, like the father says, this is his funeral, I'm going to go say something, and they say don't, and it's when they come back at the trial that they show up with the angel wings. And I think that's what the documentary shows too. But it's so his friends are the ones who put that together, and it was interesting to get their perspective because you usually every story that's told is told about the parents. Like it's not really about his life, it's about his death and what the parents did in the wake of that. and then or the world really. So I really enjoyed the fact that this was a different perspective. What I didn't really grasp in this documentary was the choice or why they had the celebrities there to talk about it. And I mean, I guess I get this. Andrew
Reynolds
was
on there.
Was there. If for those who don't know, he starred in
Book of
the
Mormon.
Book of Mormon. And he's been in some TV shows.
Yeah. He was also, which I learned from this documentary, graduated high school the same year I did.
Oh yeah? What year was that?
1997.
Oh, okay. So he was younger then.
Me? No, we graduated the same year.
Not you, Matthew Sheppard.
Oh, Matthew. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because Matthew Sheppard was born in 76.
Yeah. And I was born in 75. I think that's why I felt so connected to his story, is that he was out in a small town
I'm
in
younger
Wyoming.
than Andrew Reynolds. He was born in 78.
And so I graduated college about a year and a half before he was murdered. And I was a student at a small Southern Baptist school in North Carolina where I promoted a support group for gay people. And I used to get phone messages, like he had answering machines back then, and people would call and leave messages like you need to take them signs down. There's a new breed in town, and we're going to get rid of you, and all this kind of stuff. And it just never occurred to me that anything would actually really happen. So when this did, I just felt so connected to it, which I guess is why they interviewed, Rosie O'Donnell and Andrew Reynolds and Adam Lambert, because he was in high school when it happened.
Yeah.
So it's just like it was about how it affected them and their lives moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot about who Matthew Sheppard was and his story, because particularly if you were a gay man when that was happening, whether you were out or not, I think that this story resonates. And I think that speaks the power of who Matthew was, is that everybody feels connected to him. And I also just noticed, side note, Andrew Reynolds and I also share the same middle name. So we have a lot in common, apparently.
Well, I mean, Andrew...
We're also both super talented and can sing.
We know Andrew's listening. So, Andrew, maybe you should have coffee with Jeremy.
Scott Reynolds?
You should have coffee with him.
Get together. What else do we have in common?
You should compare 23andMe's and your...
Oh, my God. What if he's my long-lost brother?
There you go. Well, you would probably know it.
Would I?
Well, do you think he's taken it?
What if my parents were very sneaky back then? What if something happened and they had to ship him off because he threatened to murder me or something?
Andrew, take the 23andMe. If Jeremy Williams shows up as your brother, call him. You have so much in common.
And if I don't show up as your brother, call me.
One of the things that I liked so much about this documentary was one of the things Judy Sheppard said, and that she said she guessed that she's always known that he was gay, but never added it up, but always knew. And then she said that she remembers when he was 8 years old, his favorite Halloween costume was Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
And I loved that so much. The one thing, I wrote down a couple of things that were just meaningless. I really liked Rosie O'Donnell's glasses. Did you notice them?
I did not.
They were kind of steampunky-ish. Like they just had like little nodules on them and weird spots. Thought it was really cool. I hear she was a terror. When her talk show was going on, there were rumors that she was awful to people.
I was obsessed with her talk show when it was out.
I like everything that she does professionally.
I would buy a little container of Altoids just because she used to have Altoids on her desk.
I find that, I like the things that she's in. So
I love Rosie.
Yeah. And then when the Westboro Baptist Church showed up, it reminded me how funny I think it is that there's a meme that goes around and it's like God, and he's like, "No, I said figs. God hates figs." So when I saw the God hates fags things, that made me laugh. But did you notice on the signs that they were carrying? And I don't know if this was how they really had them, but there was stick figures doing it.
One bent over and one doing it, and it was like, it's a sin or something. Yeah. And I was like, can I get that sign? I want to hang that in my room. But yeah, there's one little stick figure bent over and another one behind him. And it's like, it's a sin.
Yeah. Those are all the notes that I wrote down about.
Yeah. The only thing I know, I mean, like I said, I didn't feel like we got anything new from this. I mean, I learned new things, but I feel like it was stuff that was already out there. I don't feel like they presented anything fresh. A couple of decisions, like at the end, like you said, they have that last 5 minutes where they're talking about what it's been like for the last 15 years. And they were like, we felt like we had all these wins, and, the hate crime bill got passed, and then Don't Ask, Don't Tell got reversed or repealed, and then marriage equality, and they said it all came to a screeching halt. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking Pulse. And they were like, Donald Trump got elected. And I was like, you just blew right past Pulse. And then they came back for a split second.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, and then Pulse and Club Q happened. And I was like, I feel like Pulse was more of an impact. I mean, Trump sucks, but I felt like Pulse was more of an impact to the community than Trump.
It was
In this
interesting.
context.
It was interesting to watch this documentary and realize that all of our advancements came during Obama's administration.
Yeah.
And like all the things that he signed into place. He got
Certainly
rid
wasn't
of
going to come from George W. Bush.
He got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and he, and it was under his leadership and Joe Biden that sort of turned the country and let the Supreme Court then approve same-sex marriage. And then they're saying then Trump came and this all went away. But so this documentary talks about, because it's like an American hate crime. They're talking about what happened to Matthew Sheppard, and a lot of the documentary is about the fight then to get hate crime legislation enacted. And so it's with that, and it's James Bird, who was murdered by being tied to a pickup truck and dragged through because he's black. And so it was about these two families coming together trying to get hate crime legislation enacted. And one thing, they finally got to a point, and when Barney Frank was in Congress, where Congress passed hate crimes legislation, and then it was going to go to the Senate, and George Bush said, this W said, if you attach it to this bill, I will veto this defense spending bill or whatever it was, because this is attached to it. So it never passed the Senate. And it wasn't until Obama, like you think about this, he was murdered in 1998. And it wasn't until Obama's administration that
11 years,
was
2009 is when it got signed.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What this did do, I mean, again, it's not a bad documentary. It's just, there's nothing new that comes out of it. And when you're doing a documentary where it's like 25 years later, we're going to reflect, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of reflecting. But what it did do is it helped me to do my own research and dive in. And I came across this, and I've never read this before, but it was written back in 1999 by Vanity Fair. They did a story called The Crucifixion of Matthew Sheppard. It's like 75,000 words. It's a hefty read, but it's a really good read. And it does something, we talked about this before we started recording. It does something that nothing else I've seen that covers Matthew Sheppard does. Everything always talks about his death and how that impacted the community. A lot of this talks about who he was before that, who he was as a human, growing up, what kind of things he liked, what he was into, what kind of person he was. So if you get a chance, Vanity Fair still has it up on their website. It's called The Crucifixion of Matthew Sheppard. You should give it a read.
Yeah, I definitely will, because I haven't read that yet.
Yeah.
It inspired me, watching the documentary inspired me to go back and watch the movie with Stockard Channing and Sam Waterston. And I just loved it. I think the bulk of this story is about, he's from the time that he's murdered and dies until the trial where the sentencing trial for Aaron McKinney. And it's about what they're going to say, because they're like, getting the death penalty is a slam dunk, and they're just trying to come up with what to say to convince a jury to kill this man. And in the process, they have some flashbacks where they talk about him, and then they visit like where he was murdered and all of this, and they come to this revelation that they don't want Matthew's legacy to be about killing somebody, that he loved life, and that for that they were going to gift life to this guy in the name of Matthew Sheppard. And it's an amazing speech that Dennis Sheppard gives at that trial to say, we're going to give you your life, and I want you to thank Matthew every day for that. And it's amazing because of the little consideration that they gave Matthew's life. It's such an angering thing for me. Like in this movie, and I don't know if this is how it really went down, but in the movie, after he's convicted, so they spend an entire trial, by the way, trying to say that Matthew Sheppard was a drug addict and that's why he died. That they used the gay panic defense, which basically just means you're gay, so other people panic and they can kill you, and that's what their defense started out as, and the judge said can't use that.
You can't use that.
Yeah. So and then they talked. I think there were rumors once that he had AIDS and all this other stuff, and they were just doing everything they could to assassinate his character, to say like he deserved to die or he asked to die or something like that. So then the guy gets convicted, and then the defense goes to them and says, we want to ask you to give him leniency. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, after you just said all that shit, I think the world of Judy Sheppard, because she sat in that courtroom and listened to people tear her son apart and lie about him and justify why he was murdered. And she sat there alone and listened to this, and then found this strength within her to let this guy live his life out in prison, but then to fight for other people. Like, it's amazing. I've never met her, and I know I've had many chances to. I've been at a lot of events she's been at. I just never had the privilege to meet her, but I think the world of her.
I never got to sit down. I got to meet her once at a convention that they were doing here a couple of years ago.
I saw her.
I was walking down the hallway, and she was coming up the hallway. And I said hello to her, and I said, you'll never know how, the impact you had on me and so many more, and I just want to thank you. And she said, thank you, you're welcome, and gave me a nice smile and then moved on her way. That was my whole interaction.
Well, I would die for that interaction.
But I mean, it was, it's just such a powerful story. And in reading the Vanity Fair piece, and there's a whole song about it in the Considering Matthew Sheppard, that so much gets lost on almost propheticizing Matthew for everything that was done in his name. But that he was just a regular guy. And I love this part because they sat down and interviewed his parents. And I just thought this was really cute. His mother talking about him, and they were like, tell us about Matthew. And she said, he's a snappy dresser. He liked country, techno music, and neo swing bands like the Squirrel Nut Zippers. He was a good dancer and went to clubs. I was like, I like the Squirrel Nut Zippers too.
Yeah,
and then I started thinking this, because as I was reading that, I was like, he never saw Brokeback Mountain. He'll never see And I don't know why my mind just started going through this, like, just simple things that we do. He probably would have liked that movie.
He probably would have liked to get gay married.
Yeah.
Or as the gays call it, married.
Yeah.
There's just so many things in life. Like, to come from what life was like in 1998, where you could be beat up and killed, to where we are today.
And I mean, I'm not naive to the point that that's not happening today, but I think it's important because there's a couple of interviews in here with younger people in the fight today, and that one of the things is in their struggle, in their fight, is teaching people about the story of Matthew, because we feel like the younger generation is moving past it. They don't know who Matthew Sheppard is,
and it's and at a time that it's really unfortunate, because we are getting back to a time where people will feel what's the word, empowered to kill gay people just because they're gay. I mean, it's happening to trans people all the time.
Yeah,
and that needs to be addressed. That needs to be stopped. But people are more emboldened to share their hatred, which we've learned this weekend. People are more willing to. The people have not commented on our GayDayS coverage ever, and all of a sudden they're like,
"We're getting
you're
messages,
going to die in hell, you queers," and like all this craziness. So it's important. If you don't know about Matthew Sheppard, learn about it. Read up about it. It was
start with this Vanity Fair story. It was fantastic.
And watch the films. And the Laramie Project is another show that is about. That's more about the town's reaction to it, which is an interesting concept as well. But it's an important story, and it's something we should not ever forget.
Yeah, there were a lot of parallels in the Matthew Sheppard story. Watching this to the response after Pulse. And not just the response of the community, but the response of like the media, seeing that like this media came upon Laramie, and just I remember the days after Pulse, just all the media coming here and just just taking over that particular part of the city. And it was crazy. It's crazy. But yeah. So yeah, check that all out. And it's the start of Pride Month, so we'll have a lot more Pride-filled, happy stories.
Yeah,
next time.
we'll try not to cover like the. I mean, it's just important. You need to know about this.
But we'll do some happy, funny stuff.
And we have so many events coming up.
Yeah,
we're going to see Clue tomorrow night.
We are, yes. So we'll talk more about
that.
Clue, but lots more to come. So until then, we'll put the cork back in the bottle.